Hey BookTube, it's Kim at middle of the book march, and there's no intro because I wanted to get right into the video. I can't be clever and smart all the time. I can, but trying to be humble. Anyway, so this is the mid-year book freakout tag, and I think I did it last year. It's a fun tag just to kind of, review the first half of the year, do a little catch up, and talk to you all about the books that are happening or that already happened. So there's 13 questions, 13 prompts. I do believe the original and the originator of this tag are no longer available. I looked, I could not find. The video was marked private, which means it was either marked private or deleted or removed or whatever. But a lot of booktubers are doing the mid-year book freakout tag, so I thought, I'm getting on the bandwagon, so here it is. Okay, prompt number 1, the best book you've read in 2022. This one was my first 5-star read of the year. This is Old Filth by Jane Gardam, and Old Filth is an old man, and Filth stands for Failed in London, Try Hong Kong. And this is set in the 50s. I think it's in the 50s, or it goes back in time. It goes back and forth in time. But Old Filth is a widower, is an 80-year-old widower living in comfortable seclusion in Dorset. And this it goes back into his personal history, reviews when he met his wife, it reviews his military history, his immigration history, his family history, how he ended up where he is. The author writes a lot about his relationship with his wife and their relationships with their close friends. There's a lot in here about colonialism, imperialism. His family were diplomats to Asia, and I forget the country, Malaysia. And so there's a lot of talk about that. There's a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it, but there's a little bit of history of British imperialism in Southeast Asia. So, but the writing is incredible. The story is heartbreaking, heartwarming, funny, so well done. She has a very dry kind of English humor, and I loved her writing. I had so many people that said you have to read this book, and when I finally did, I was so grateful that I finally got to it. Number 2, best sequel you've read in 2022. I don't typically read series, but in the past 6 months or so, I have read a couple. Now this may be a cheat, but I have a complete series in one book, and this is the Complete Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. This is a graphic memoir of her life, her childhood in Tehran, within a large, loving family. And this has a lot of discussion, not just about family, a family memoir, but also the Iranian War, conflict and wartime conflict politics, how she survived that in her childhood and her young adulthood, what her life was like, how she claimed her own identity. And this, I believe, has 4 volumes in it. I'm going to say so, and I don't remember. I think so. But this is kind of a cheat because I just read the whole volume all at once, but I'm counting it. Because there is another sequel that I read last year and absolutely adored, but that's going to come in a couple of other questions. So, prompt number 3, new release you haven't read yet but want to. Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. This was published in 2022. Well, that makes sense since this is the 2022 mid-year book freakout tag. Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. So as you can see, this is already out. This is my Book of the Month Club edition. And this is set in present-day California. Eleanor Bennett's death leaves behind a puzzling inheritance for her 2 children. This is set in the Caribbean, a traditional Caribbean black cake made from a family recipe with a long history and a voice recording. Eleanor, in her message, shares a tumultuous story about a headstrong young swimmer who escapes her island home under the suspicion of murder. So I've seen this a bunch of places and really want to get to it. I've been excited about that one. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I am a huge Alice Feeney fan, and I'm not typically one to read a bunch of thrillers, but I can't stop myself when it comes to Alice Feeney. And her book is Daisy Darker, and it's coming out August 30th, so it's not that far away, 2.5 months. I don't even know what it's about. I don't care, because I think I only have one other Alice Feeney novel that I have not read, and I think it's His and Hers. I forget. There may be 1 or 2, but I have them. I absolutely love her writing style. I love her stories. I love the way she writes a thriller. I have been surprised by everyone I've read so far, and I cannot wait for Daisy Darker. Number 5, the biggest disappointment, and this was too bad. This made me sad, but Bernardine Evaristo's memoir, Manifesto, and this is on never giving up. I was really looking forward to this. Girl, Woman, Other was one of my favorites of 2020, 19, 20. 2020, I believe, is when I read it. 2021. I don't remember. But it was one of my favorites at the time, and I was really looking forward to this one, and I just did not like it. I didn't like her writing style. There's so many times when she's discussing her mental and emotional health and mental health in general, and she's giving some very trite, pat answers to what people can do about their own emotional and mental health. And I thought it's very simplistic. There was a lot of grandstanding, I thought, and it didn't go emotionally deep enough for me. It's fairly short, and I guess a memoir is kind of a snapshot, a piece of your life, and this is a piece of her life that I just could not get invested in, so I was really sad about that. Oh, let's see, number 6, biggest surprise. Aisha At Last by Uzma Jalaluddin. This is a Muslim romance, but there's not a lot of romance or there's not a lot of content in this book that you would find in a stereotypical romance novel. There's no sexual content because it's Muslim characters. And this was so good. It was kind of a takeoff on Pride and Prejudice, and I was not expecting to like this at all. I started reading it on my Kindle, and as you can see, I got myself a physical copy because that's what I do. And I really, really loved it. I enjoyed this book so much, and it kind of busted every preconception that I thought this book would be. And I didn't know if this book would have anything to tell me or anything that I could connect with, but I completely did. And I actually learned some things too. There was a little bit of a family mystery, family drama, and how two characters, as I said, it plays on Pride and Prejudice, so how two characters start off in the book antagonizing each other and really irritated with each other, and eventually there's a happily ever after. So, let's see, number 7, favorite new author, debut, or new to you. I really love this book, The Murmur of Bees by Sofia Segovia, and this is translated by Simon Bruni. This is translated from the Spanish, and this is set in Mexico, and there's magical realism. There's a lot of talk about bees and the landscape and plant life and flora and fauna. And this is basically a family drama of an abandoned baby who has a birth deformity, who gets taken in by an old woman who is looked at kind of a magical soothsayer kind of a woman. Not, I don't want to say witch, but kind of. And how this abandoned little baby is brought into this very large and loving Mexican family. And what happens with the family drama, there's contention with workers on this family farm, and there's a lot of love, there's a lot of magic and magical realism, and depending on if you like that or not, if you like that, you would love this book. And I just loved her writing or the translation. It was so good. I I discovered her, and this was kind of a lark, one of those books that I kept seeing all over the place where I was looking and different book recommendations, and I took a chance, and I really, really loved that book. Let's see, number 8, newest fictional crush. No, I think I said it in my last year's video, I don't typically have crushes on characters based on their physicality or their looks, but last year I did highlight Jamie Fraser from Outlander, and not just the character too, but Sam Hewn, who plays him in the show, in the series. Yes, that's a definite crush. But for this one's a little different. I kind of imagined how this character would look, but this is Pieter Posthumus from the Pieter Posthumus series by Britta Bolt. And of course, this is Rodney Bolt and Britta Bolt's collaboration for this trilogy of thrillers. And this is the Lonely Funerals team, and Pieter Posthumus is the leader of this team in Amsterdam, and this is a team of people who put on funerals for unclaimed people, or people without families, or people with families who don't want to deal with their deaths. And so Pieter Posthumus is kind of not an authority, not the police, but he gets involved in all of these mysteries, and he tries to research who these people are, and he has a very full personal life. Lives in an Amsterdam village and has a very tight group of people around him. There's mystery in his personal group. There's mystery in the cases that he works on. And I just really loved his personality. I loved his passion for the people that he surrounded himself with, the passion for his job, how diligent he was, and how conscientious and compassionate. And I really, really enjoyed the 3 books in this trilogy. I highly recommend those. Oh, let's see. Number 9, newest favorite character, Lilly Willows from Sylvia Townsend Warner. Loved this book. Lilly Willows is a very unassuming woman named Laura. She becomes Aunt Lolly to her nieces and nephew. And she starts off in the book very unassuming, but she ends up with a bang. She decides to go against all convention in the early 20th century and go off on her own, move away from the family, find herself her own little cottage, and truly become who she really is. And she was such a surprise, and she was so refreshing and had so much to say at the end of the book. Let's see, number 10, book that made you cry. This will come as no surprise to anybody, but not only the book and all 4 of the books that are currently out, but the show on Netflix for Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I loved all of these books. I bought volume 1 and I thought I'd try it. It's a graphic novel. Of course it is, because everybody has heard of this so far. But I saw it on so many booktubers channels, and I'm like, I'm not into YA. I don't typically gravitate towards YA graphic novels. But I just absolutely loved this entire series, and the 5th book is coming out next year sometime. Oh, made me cry. It was so charming and loving and accepting and so many things. Just a love story between 2 teenage boys, one who is struggling with his existence at this high school, being bullied and trying to be accepted, the other one who is just discovering who he is, and it was just wonderful. Absolutely loved it. Loved all 4 volumes. Loved the Netflix show. Go and watch it. Netflix show, I was bawling my eyes out. And number 11, book that made you happy. Again, it's a cheat, but it's literally this entire series. I absolutely loved it. And I could have read the whole series in a weekend. I read 1 book at a time, and I put 1 down, and then I saved the rest because I loved them so much and I wanted to enjoy them and have fun, and I loved it. Loved all of it. Let's see, number 12, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. By far, The Language of Butterflies by Wendy Williams. Look at this cover. Those blue butterflies, it's so shiny. They're on the back, they're so shiny. It's almost like, and it's not even foil, it's the photograph. And I don't know how it's so shiny, but it really is, and they are so beautiful. So that is by far the most gorgeous book that I have read. And I would love to know if that is a photo of actual butterflies, and I tend to think it is because there's some tree bark here. Oh, they're so pretty. I don't want that to be some sort of graphic representation. So Heidi, tell me if that's an actual photo. She would know. Number 13, the last prompt is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I don't need to read anything. I want to read everything. So, June, I took a break from several books I was currently reading. I'm going to go back to one before the end of the year. The books of Jacob by Olga Tokarczuk. This is translated from the Polish by Jennifer Croft. This is a behemoth of a book, 950-something pages. It's physically super heavy because I have the hardcover, and the paper is like that really heavy-duty, really good quality paper, but it makes this book so heavy. I really was enjoying this book. I am about, I don't know, on page, what page am I on? 200? I think I've read 200 pages so far. It's a wonderful story. It's superbly written, and I will get back to this book by the end of the year and finish it. The other one is Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, and this was one of my Mooks and Gripes bucket list books. You chose, the viewers voted, and this was one of the two books that you told me to read first this year in 2022. Mrs. Dalloway. The other one was the Ursula K. Le Guin volume that I've been working my way through. I've read the first 3 novellas in that book, and the next one is The Left Hand of Darkness. But Mrs. Dalloway is the other Mooks and Gripes book you asked me to read first. So this will be easy to fit in by the end of the year, and I will read it, and I need to read it just like the books of Jacob. That's it for the mid-year book freakout tag for me. I'm not going to tag anybody, just do the tag. This is out there. Everybody knows about it. Just do it. It's fun. I'd love to hear your answers. Let me know in the comments below what you think of any of the books. I've had many of them on my channel already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.